Long, long ago, when the world was younger and magic flowed like rivers through the land, there existed a village called Nkwanta, nestled between golden grasslands and whispering forests in the great kingdom of Ashanti. This was a place where drums spoke louder than words, where children learned rhythm before they learned to walk, and where the heartbeat of 100 djembes pulsed through every sunset and sunrise. But for 7 long seasons the drums had fallen silent. The great drought had come like a thief in the night, stealing away the rains and leaving the earth cracked and broken. The sacred rivers became mere whispers, the mighty baobab tree began to wither, and the people forgot how to sing to the sky. You see, dear listeners, without rain to prepare the drum skins, the music makers could no longer craft their instruments, and without drums, how could they call to the ancestors? How could they speak to the spirits of wind and water? The village that once rang with celebration now echoed only with the sound of empty bowls and worried whispers. But in this village of silence lived a young man named Kofi. While others had given up hope, his calloused hands still remembered the ancient rhythms. In secret, he practiced on his grandmother's sacred djembe, a drum carved from the wood of the very first baobab tree. "Child," the elders would scold, "your drumming only reminds us of what we have lost." But Kofi's grandmother, wise Nana Ama, would smile with eyes that held the memory of storms. "The boy knows what you have forgotten," she would whisper. "Music is not just celebration, it is conversation." On a morning when the sun painted the sky the color of dried blood, old Nana Ama called her grandson to her side. Her breathing was shallow, like the last whispers of a dying fire. From a small leather pouch, she poured 7 seeds into Kofi's palm. Seeds black as midnight, smooth as river stones, warm as hope itself. "These are the seeds of the first rain," she told him. "Plant them at the base of the great baobab at sunset, and play the rhythm I am about to teach you. But beware, my child. Thunder is proud and easily angered. You must play with perfect heart, or he will turn his face from our people forever." As the sun touched the horizon, Nana Ama taught Kofi a rhythm unlike any he had ever heard, complex as a spider's web, powerful as a charging elephant, delicate as a bird's first flight. That very night, she passed into the realm of the ancestors, leaving Kofi alone with the weight of his people's salvation resting in his young hands. The next evening, with his grandmother's djembe strapped to his back and his heart heavy with grief, Kofi made his way to the great baobab. The massive tree stood like a cathedral in the fading light, its enormous trunk scarred by lightning strikes from ages past. As he planted the 7 sacred seeds at the tree's ancient roots, the earth felt warm beneath his fingers, the first warmth it had known in 7 long seasons. And then he began to play. The skies darkened, as if in response to his call. Thunder rumbled in the distance, growing louder with each beat of the drum. It was as if the heavens themselves were answering. The rhythm started soft, like the first drops of rainfall on leaves, then grew stronger, mimicking the roll of distant thunder. The baobab's branches began to sway, though there was no wind. Animals emerged from their hiding places. Gazelles, monkeys, even the shy bush babies, all drawn by music that seemed to wake the very soul of the earth. And as Kofi played, the sky began to change. Clouds gathered from the 4 corners of the earth, dark and heavy with promise. But Kofi's hands never stopped moving on the drum skin. Through his music he spoke of his village's suffering, of children too weak to laugh, of crops turned to dust, of hope flickering like a candle in the storm. Thunder listened, his anger slowly transforming into curiosity. Then recognition, then deep rumbling laughter that shook the very foundations of the earth. Little drummer, it has been many seasons since anyone remembered the old language. I will make a bargain with you, young one. Play for 3 days and 3 nights without stopping. If your hands falter, if your rhythm breaks, the drought will continue forever. 3 days without rest, without food, without water. It seemed impossible. But as Kofi looked at the withered baobab, as he thought of his dying village, he found his courage. I accept. The trial began. For 3 days and 3 nights Kofi played. His hands ached, his body screamed for rest, but he did not stop. The villagers watched in awe, praying for his success. As the 3rd night fell, the ancestors returned. Their spirits danced to Kofi's unbroken rhythm, bringing with them the long-awaited rain. The drought was over, and the village of Nkwanta was saved. For 3 days and 3 nights Kofi played. His hands blistered and bled, while his throat grew parched as desert sand. His eyes burned with exhaustion. On the 1st day, clouds gathered. On the 2nd day, lightning danced across the sky. On the 3rd day, as the sun reached its highest point, Kofi felt his strength ebbing away like water through cupped hands. His vision blurred, and his hands felt like lead. The drum seemed to grow heavier with each beat. Just as he was about to collapse, something miraculous happened. The spirits of every drummer who had ever lived in Nkwanta appeared around the great baobab tree. Translucent figures with drums of their own, all playing in perfect harmony with Kofi's rhythm. And there, among them, stood his beloved grandmother, her eyes shining with pride. With their support, with the strength of generations flowing through his tired hands, Kofi played the final beats of Thunder's test. As the last note echoed across the savannah, the sky opened like a flower blooming in the morning sun. Rain fell in torrents, sweet and warm and life-giving. The 7 seeds sprouted instantly, growing into small trees that bore fruit within moments. The great baobab straightened its ancient branches and burst into bloom, its flowers glowing like stars against the storm-dark sky. Across the village of Nkwanta, drums began to sound once more as the people celebrated the return of life itself. Well done, little drummer. You have remembered what your people forgot. That music is the bridge between earth and sky. The rains will return each season, but only as long as the drums continue to speak. Kofi returned to his village not just as a hero, but as a teacher. He established a school for young drummers, where children learned not just rhythm, but the ancient language of conversation with the elements. And every year, when the first rains came, the people would gather around the great baobab tree to hear Kofi tell this very story. The story of how a young drummer saved his village by remembering that some conversations are too important to let die. The 7 trees that grew from Thunder's seeds became sacred groves, and it is said that on quiet nights, if you listen carefully, you can still hear the echo of that ancient rhythm, keeping the eternal conversation alive. Between earth and sky, between the living and the ancestors, between hope and reality. And so ends our tale. But the drums play on forever.